Hello and welcome to part 2 of Self-Publishing 101 with Khadijah Ali Coleman. That's me. I'm excited to bring you this follow-up to part 1 of this series. When you are choosing to self-publish, you are choosing to take control of your publishing experience. You have decided to take the middleman out of your publishing process. Therefore, you're responsible for making sure your book is edited and proofread. You're responsible for selecting the art and artists to design your book, formatting the book inside, pricing the book, distributing the book, and marketing it to your audience. So my question to you is, where are you right now in this process? The order of operations when planning your book is working with it when it is in its first draft, getting it to a final draft, and then having a finished product that is ready for sale and distribution. So in the first episode in this series, I told you that the first step after your first draft was completed was to reread your work. And I explained in that video how a lot of times that's hard for people to just go back and look over what it is that they wrote, especially if they wrote a really large piece of work. But in rereading your work, you come to the decision of whether or not you have a story that is worth sharing in your own opinion. Some of my former clients have written manuscripts that are memoirs or even works of fiction, and they've realized that it really was the process and the journey that they want to experience and not really interested in the hard work that it takes to self-publish and to distribute. So after rereading your work, what do you do next if you've decided that you in fact do want to publish? Do you build your team, proofread or edit? Do you select your publishing company? Do you design your book cover or develop your marketing plan? What do you think you do? So, I say you select your self-publishing company. And it may sound really backwards, particularly when you saw the options of proofreading and editing, which are not the same, but you saw them as options. Of course, you're thinking, I have a first draft and I need to now go through it after I've reread it and edit it and proofread it and get it grammatically correct and just cohesive and concise and all those good things. And I appreciate the fact that that's even something that you know needs to happen. But you want to select your self-publishing company because your self-publishing company you select could possibly free you up from having to worry about many of those things, such as proofreading or editing, or designing the cover, some of those things that were options on the page, on the graphic before. So, for instance, time is money. And many of you do not have the time to devote to designing your own book cover, finding an editor or proofreader, or marketing your book. Many of you have full-time jobs, or you may be students, or you may be busy parents, and you just don't have the time to do some of those services that I had listed. So you need to determine if you are going to hire a self-publishing company that offers some of these boutique services, okay? So therefore ask yourself first, what are your needs, okay? What do you want to do with your book? Is this going to be a book that's going to be a product that you offer when you go and do speaking engagements? Is this something that's going to be offered online only as a digital manuscript? Or is this something that you're going to have a hard copy of? What are the package costs? Because you need to think about your budget. Okay, so these are some things that you're going to look at. Packages costs. Some self-publishing companies have certain parameters in which they will publish your book. What are the rights to your book? When you use the company, will they require you to pay them an annual fee to have it published? What is the percentage that you get in royalties versus what they get if they're the ones that are going to print on demand? You also want to know if they're going to offer free author copies after you pay them a fee up front. Also, if you decide you want to reprint it, you may want to add something to your book maybe in a couple of years. What are those options that they offer? And then those additional services that we spoke of. Do they offer editing services? Do they offer proofreading? Do they design the cover of your book, or those things that you're going to have to do on your own? And finally, the turnaround to publish the book. Can they print on demand? Is it going to take a certain amount of time for you to be able to get hard copies? And that's important for many of you who may want to get into the business of attending opportunities to sell your book yourself. So will this company be able to print it? Let's say if you have a festival that you want to go to sell your book, can they print on demand? And so these are things that I know a lot of people don't even consider when they write their book, or even come up with the idea of writing a book as to what is the long term. And so these are some questions to start asking yourself now, so that you can be prepared in searching for a self-publishing company that can accommodate you as this becomes a business for you in terms of marketing your book, and using it, whatever your business is, if that's something that you plan to do. Once you determine what your needs are, you then begin researching the best fit for you. So your question then is, how do you go about researching and choosing a self-publishing company? I just asked myself all these questions. Now I have to research a publishing company. Yes, you do. If you want to get the most bang for your buck. One of the things that people don't realize when it comes to research is that it's not always a Google search, okay? Your research can begin just by asking yourself questions and the people around you questions. So start off with asking those friends that are around you who self-publish, who it was that they used. I know that I have gotten as clients many referrals from writers that I have helped finish their books, whether I've been their editor and proofreader, or whether I've helped them outline a book, or whether I've made recommendations and coached them through the process. I've gotten many clients because writers have asked their friends who helped you with your book. So first I would recommend is ask your writer friends who self-publish who they use. Then engage in some comparison shopping. What does comparison shopping look like? That is, you create a table or a chart, or just start making lists of some of the prices that you come across. After you've asked yourself those questions that I suggested before, you then, and you know what your needs are, you then start looking and seeing what are some of the options that different companies offer, and start to compare them in price, turnaround time. Those are some things that are that you look to compare. You may even want to see where they're located, because that may impact the time that you'll be able to receive your books, and the cost in having it shipped. Next, you want to poll others in writing groups. So you've asked writer friends, people that you know personally. Now, if you're making good use of your social media, particularly Facebook, hopefully if you're on Facebook, you're not just on there posting pictures and on your timeline alone. You're using the groups that are on Facebook. Groups on Facebook have been such a blessing for me in terms of my business, finding clients, but also being able to share information and learn things. And so if you are considering writing a book, I would definitely recommend you look for writers groups, free ones that are online, as well as maybe joining some in real lifetime and polling people in those groups. Who have you used to publish before? And so these are people that aren't necessarily your friends, but they are people that you are aligned with in terms of having similar interests. And so once you start to compile this information from doing your research, you then can have an idea of what are some of the many choices that you have at your disposal. We can look at Outskirts Press. I used them about 9 years ago for the first book that I published through my organization, Liberated Muse Arts Group. I published an anthology, and I had over 10 contributors to this anthology, and so copyright was a very big issue. I needed to make sure that I had a company that was not going to infringe on our copyright. I also wanted to have a company that would help with the formatting of the book. That was something that I did not have any interest in. When I used Outlands Press, I had to have Adobe 9 Professional on my computer to be able to send it to the editor and the proofreader of the manuscript, which I appreciated because I was not familiar with that software before. And so I've used it since then for other business activities, but that was one of the requirements at the time. In all transparency, I have not used Outlands Press since 2009, and so these prices that you see are not recent, but these are examples of packages that some self-publishing companies use that allow you to do the comparison shopping and allow you to make decisions based on your budget. Some popular choices that other authors that I've worked with have used. I've used CreateSpace as well for another anthology project. I know that Doggy Publishing, some of my clients have used them, iUniverse, and then some people have decided to forego a self-publishing company, but looked at printing companies when they did the comparison shopping, and realized that some of the services were things that they may be able to do on their own. They decided to use a company simply for printing, or to forego a self-publishing company and look merely for a printing company. So what are some of the things that will impact your decision? That's something that I believe you should really consider asking yourself before you make a selection. Or what are the things, how is it going to impact your budget? A lot of times authors want to invest in so many things, but I haven't really thought out the purpose of this book, or the vision that they have for the book. So hopefully you begin to consider that before making such an investment that self-publishing can become. Um, so that is the second thing in this series that I recommend once your first draft is completed. The first edition of this series looks at rereading your manuscript and why you want to do that. This episode was about selecting your self-publishing company. If you have any questions, hopefully you can ask me in the comments below, or you can visit my website at birthyourcreativity.com. That's birthyourcreativity.com. I have started to rebrand my business, and I call myself the Creative Midwife, but I would love to work with you if you have a serious interest in being coached on preparing your manuscript, whether you need professional writing services from editing and proofreading, or you need assistance when it comes to marketing and preparing your book for the public. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. And again, reach out to me if you have any questions. You can find me online on Facebook. I am the Creative Midwife. And you can also email me at info@birthyourcreativity.com. Have a good day.